Is this a weird angle? It's fine. Hello everybody, it's Sara. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming at you with a video that I am so excited to film because we are going to be tier ranking bookish tropes. I have seen so many creators do this kind of video in the last couple of months, and I think that they're so funny and just so fun. So I really wanted to make one, and I thought today was the perfect day to do so. So before we begin, I do have to say that I have quite a lot of tropes here, so definitely grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack, whatever you'd like, because we're gonna be here for a while. Okay, so first off, we are going to start by going over my tier ranking system. So I decided to go with the kind of like food team. Well, actually I did not decide to go with a kind of food team, it just happened that way. The first top tier is give it to me in like a very aggressive font, which are going to be my favorite tropes of all time. Whenever I hear that a book has these tropes in it, I go wild and I need to read it now. Then the second tier is chef's kiss. So obviously good tropes, I love these, like I love encountering them in any book. Then I have I eat it up every time, which for some of them might be like, I know these are not the best tropes ever, but I just love them anyway. Kind of like a comfort as well, like a comfort trope, I want to say. So whenever it happens, you know, I know it's kind of cliche or overdone or whatever, but I just eat it up every time anyway, because I love it. Then we have good soup. Which I think is going to be more of a like neutral tier. Like I like these tropes, they're not my favorites, but you know, I don't mind them. And then we have Brussels sprouts as our last tier, because Brussels sprouts are the devil's cabbage and I will die on this hill. So I decided that the bottom tier would be called Brussels sprouts. Okay, so without any further ado, let's dive into this. We're starting very strong because the first trope that we have is the yearning or the slow burn trope, if you will. And these are characters from Downton Abbey. In case you don't watch Downton Abbey, it's Hannah and Mr. Bates, and they basically have the slowest slow burn of all time. And I feel like if you know me, you know that slow burn is like, it's everything. There's nothing that I love more in a romance than a slow burn where both of the characters are yearning for one another, but for whatever reason, like they don't think that they can be together or they can be together. And you know, I just love when we take the time for the relationship to truly blossom. I love that shit. Okay, next up, I see that you can see that I have like two Casbreaker pictures in this tier, and that's because he fits for like two categories. I could have probably picked two different characters, but he's Casbreaker and I love him, so he gets two slots, okay? Just, that's how my brain works. And I think that I chose this Cas for the morally gray character, which, ooh, I'm gonna put it to chef's kiss, because I really love morally gray characters if they're executed well. If they're not executed well, then they just kind of get on my nerves. But when, you know, they're just perfectly unhinged and you can't stop yourself from rooting for them, that's chef's kiss for me. Then we have the magical competition, and I put A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab because it has that trope in it, and I couldn't remember any other book that has it. I think I'm gonna put it in good soup for now. It might move up to I eat it up every time, but for now I think I'm gonna put it in good soup. Like, it's not the kind of trope that will make me want to pick up a book immediately, but whenever it happens, like whenever I do have a magical competition in a book that I'm reading, I'm like, ooh! Oh, so maybe I should put it in I eat it up every time, because it does always make me very happy whenever that happens. Okay, I'm gonna put it in I eat it up every time. Then we have the classic love triangle. It looks like there's only Bella Swan in that picture because of the way that the picture is cropped, but like Edward and Jacob are there. I don't like love triangles. I know it's so basic of me to dislike love triangles. I just don't think that they really serve any purpose, because I find that every single time that there's one in a book that I'm reading, I can always guess which one of the two guys or which one of the girls, which rarely ever happens, let's be honest, but which one of the two love interests the main character is going to pick. And so I feel like the tension just isn't there because I already know which character they're going to end up with. So yeah, Brussels sprouts. I'm just waiting for one of them to really blow me away and make me love triangles or just any types of love geometry, but it hasn't happened yet. So sadly it goes there. Then the next trope that I want to talk about is the miscommunication trope, which everybody hates. I don't think I'm the only one who really dislikes this trope. It goes into Brussels sprouts because it just really gets on my nerves. If it's for like a good reason, then I can understand it. But otherwise it's just the characters being stupid and refusing to talk about their feelings. So yeah. Then the next trope that I have is talking animals, and that mainly happens in fantasy, and this is the mouse from the Chronicles of Narnia, Repeat Sheep. And I have to say, I don't know if that makes me like a very cheesy person, but I love speaking animals. I think I'm gonna put this one in good soup because it's not necessarily something that I look for in the books that I'm like, you know, thinking about reading, but every single time it happens, I just love it. Like, I know that if I ever write a fantasy novel, there's gotta be a talking animal in there somewhere. I don't know why. It's just a classic trope that I really appreciate for whatever reason. Then the next trope that I have is not necessarily a trope, it's more of a like narrative device, but I really wanted to put it in there because I love it so much. And that is the dual timeline. I love dual timeline stories, especially in fantasy or in mysteries. I feel like it adds so much tension to the plot and just keeps you guessing. So yeah, I just really love that. Then the next trope that I have here is the token female character, and this is Eowyn from The Lord of the Rings. I know you can't really tell because her head is chopped, which is very sad. And don't get me wrong, I love Eowyn, okay? I adore her. She's a great character. But in the books, she is literally the only female character with a personality, which really annoys me. Arwen is there too, and I love Arwen as well. I just absolutely adore her, but she isn't like so much of a central character to the plot. She's a bit more central in the movies, which I do appreciate about the movies. But I feel like in the books, Eowyn is like one of the only female characters that just has more than like a line, and that's really something that bugs me so much. And I know that like The Lord of the Rings was written a long time ago and blah 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 blah. Like, I get it, okay? I get it. But it just annoys me so much. Every single time I read a book and there's like one female character in the entire main cast of characters, like, what the heck? Why? It really annoys me. It really gets on my nerves. I just don't like it. And I feel like if there are any Lord of the Rings fans watching this video, they're probably gonna come at me because every single time I say something about the Lord of the Rings that is slightly negative, I get hate comments. But you know, it's fine. I don't care. Come at me if you want. Then the next trope that I have is when you're reading a book and there's a story within a story, and that's why I put the Starless Sea, because I feel like that's the best example of that trope. And ooh, where do I put that one? I think I'm definitely gonna put this one in Chef's Kiss, and it might move up to Give It To Me, because I love that trope so much. Any book that's like a story within a story, or even a book that talks about books or the love that people have for books and stories, I will just read and devour. Like, I don't even need to know more about the books. If you tell me that it has those elements, I'm going to read it. Then we have the Not Like Other Girls character, and this is like the main character from like Throne of Glass or something. I haven't read Throne of Glass, but apparently she is the perfect example of that trope, and I hate that stupid trope. I hate it so much. It's sexist and ridiculous and stupid, so it goes into Brussels sprouts. Then I put Dumbledore in here, and it's not for the old mentor figure. That one is coming up, do not worry, but I put him here because I wanted to talk about the useless parental figure trope. I'm not saying that Dumbledore is completely useless, but he is, in some regards, a lot. So yeah, that's what he represents in this context, and I'm gonna put him in Brussels sprouts because There are so many tropes that I don't like in a row, because the next one is the alpha male trope, and I feel like if you know me in the slightest, like if you've talked to me for like 10 minutes, you would know that I absolutely hate this trope. I think the alpha male trope is just so ridiculous and so bad. I avoid it at all costs. I just think it's disgusting and just the complete opposite of a turn on for me. I don't get it. Then we have the bad boy character. This is Billy from Stranger Things, and that trope goes into Brussels sprouts. Every single time I come across a bad boy, I want to push them off a cliff. I do not get the appeal. I do not understand why everybody is obsessed with bad boys. Give me stuffed boys forever and I will be happy. Literally the only male character that I love who is slightly a bad boy is Casbreaker. All of the other ones I could do without so easily. I do not care about them. Then we have Frodo, who is here because he is our chosen one, and I don't mind the chosen one trope. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but I honestly don't really care if a character is a chosen one or not. I do love to root for the underdog or for the anti-hero. I would say that these type of characters often interest me more than the chosen one character, but I really don't mind a chosen one. Like it's fine. I don't have that many feelings about them. Then we have the bookish character, who is always just so relatable to all of us, I assume, and this is Laszlo Strange from Strange the Dreamer, and give it to me. Just give it to me. Every single time there is a bookish character in a book, they immediately become my favorite. So yeah, this is just a trope that I will never get tired of. I know that it's probably used by authors just to make their books more relatable to all of us readers, but I just love it. Then we have the second Casbreaker picture, and this one is for the criminal mastermind character. And I know that this trope is a little bit overused and probably a little bit cheesy and unrealistic, because very often these characters are like young and already twisted and so smart and like so good at what they're doing, but I eat it up every time. I eat it up every time. I love it so much. There is a reason why Casbreaker is one of my favorite characters of all time. It's because I love the fact that he's just so smart and he tricks everybody every single time. And I think that one of the main reasons why I love those characters so much is because they manage to surprise me as a reader, and I love that. I really live for that. Then we have the enemies to lovers trope, and I decided to pick Captain Swan from Once Upon a Time, which was like my favorite ship for so long when I was a teenager. And I think that the enemies to lovers, I think I'm gonna put it in I eat it up every time, and I'm gonna move Criminal Mastermind to Chef's Kiss, because I do prefer Criminal Mastermind to Enemies to Lovers, but I always find Enemies to Lovers narrative so fun. So if it happens in a book, I'm always just like very excited about it. So I think it belongs in this category. Then we have the classic friends to lovers. This is Emma and Mr. Knightley from Emma, and I love friends to lovers. I haven't read as many friends to lovers romance as I have read enemies to lovers, I think, but the ones that I read were so god tier that I think I'm gonna have to put friends to lovers in Chef's Kiss, because I love that shit. So many conflicting feelings and yearning. I really love it. So yeah. Then we have the star-crossed lovers. This is Celia and Marco from the Night Circus. The fan art is very, very small, so you can't really tell, but I eat it up every time. I love a good star-crossed lovers story. I thought I didn't for a while, but then I realized that like I just love complicated love story when there's something exterior to the characters and the relationship that is preventing them to be together. Love that. It's so juicy. It's so dramatic. I love it. Then we have the mates characters, like the mates couple trope. I hate it. This is probably like in the top 5 main reasons why I've never read any Sarah J. Maas books, because it just gives me the ick on another level. I don't like that narrative. I don't think it's healthy, and I think it's frankly very, very weird. Then we have the classic quest or journey trope, and that one goes into Chef's Kiss. Once again, a classic. Once again, something that I can never say no to. Whenever there is a quest element in a book, I just get so excited. I love that the characters are bonding as they're going on that adventure. I just love all of it. So good. Then we have the found family trope, and the fact that I chose a picture of the crows for that trope alone should already tell you that this goes into give it to me, because it is found family is so good. It's just so good. Whenever a book has a found family trope in it, even if the rest of the book is complete garbage, if it has it and if the characters are great, I will love it. That's the power this trope has on me. It has grabbed me by the throat at some point in 2016 and it still hasn't let me go. Then we have the old mentor character, and for this one I don't really have that many feelings about it. I think it's like, it's fine, it's a standard trope. I don't mind stumbling upon it, but it's not necessarily like my favorite. Then we have There Is Only One Bed, which is mostly a romance trope, and I have to say I eat it up every time. I don't think I love it as much as other people do, but I do eat it up every time. Like whenever it happens, I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Juicy. Then we have the magical school, or even just like regular school setting, and this one goes into chef's kiss. I just love a boarding school, magical school setting. I think it's just so much fun. I love to learn alongside the characters, and then you can also have like a great academic rivals to lovers situation. It's great. Then I put a picture of Alina and the Darkling because I wanted to talk about that trope of a very, very old male character and a very, very young female character in a relationship. Brussels sprouts, 100%. I hate it. I think it's so weird. I think it's so weird that we romanticize older men dating younger women. I think it's so strange. I don't like it in real life. I don't like it in fiction. I just, like, age gaps in general don't necessarily bother me, but there's always this power imbalance between the two, I find. And also just like, imagine dating someone who's 150 years old. Like there is a limit at which I can suspend my disbelief, and I think that this crosses that limit. Then I decided to put a picture of Lazo Strange and Sarai from Strange the Dreamer because I wanted to talk about insta-love. And I think that I'm gonna put insta-love in good soup. I love myself a slow burn, as we already talked about, but I find that insta-love is not as bad as some people say, which might be very controversial. I think that it can be done well in certain contexts. Like for instance, in Strange the Dreamer, I like it. I ship them because the entire book feels so much like a fairy tale, and that's the kind of thing that I associate with a fairy tale. So whenever I have like books that are based on fairy tales or folklore or just like have very whimsical writing, I don't mind the insta-love, which is very specific. So that's why I won't put it in like I eat it up every time or chef's kiss, because I don't think it's the superior romance trope, but I don't always mind it. I think it can be done well. Then we have the classic first dance slash ball trope, and I eat it up every time. Actually, you know what? This is like one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of cinema. This is from Pride and Prejudice 2005, in case you're living under a rock. And so I'm gonna put it in chef's kiss, actually. I think this is a trope that really gets me every single time. I don't know why. Maybe it's the hopeless romantic in me who just wants to, you know, have a little dance with a very brooding male character that I'm not sure what I feel towards, but I'm very intrigued by him, and so we have a little dance, we have a little sassy chat. Maybe I was brainwashed by Disney movies, but whenever there's a ball in a fantasy book, I'm just always so here for it. Then I put in the poster for Ocean's 8 because we need to talk about heists, because heists, I have discovered, are just some of my favorite things. I think I'm gonna put it in Give It To Me, because honestly, a good heist storyline can really make a book for me. It just makes me so excited whenever there's like this mastermind character who is just like, okay, I have to pull this off, so I'm going to pick like all of these different characters because they're all good at different things, and then we're gonna come together even though we don't trust one another and we don't like each other, and maybe there's like some tension between us, but we're gonna have to do this job, and then maybe we become friends along the way, and that's basically the plot of Six of Crows. So yeah, that's probably why I love heists so much. But I just think they're neat, okay? I just think they're neat. Moving on, we have the classic romance trope of the grumpy and sunshine characters. I eat it up every time. It's one of my favorite dynamics. I decided to put actor Age Eve Brown as the image for this one because I feel like this is such a good representation of that trope. I think I love it so much because you kind of see the grumpy character slowly start to open up, and that's one of my favorite things in fiction. So yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite romance dynamics. Then we have the fake dating trope. I don't know actually how I feel exactly about fake dating. I think I'm gonna put it in... I eat it up every time. I don't necessarily seek it out, but whenever it happens, I'm like, oh yeah, because the characters always end up in such funny situations, and there's also so much yearning involved, and you know I'm all about the yearning. Then we have the unlikely allies trope, which is basically when these characters that don't really trust each other or don't really like each other have to basically come together to defeat this bigger evil. And I just love that trope so much. I think I'm gonna put it in Chef's Kiss because it really just, it tickles my fancy. Every time. I just love it. I love great characters, dynamics. Can you tell? Then we have the Darkling, who represents the big bad villain that doesn't really have a lot of nuance to his character, and I think that this one I'm gonna put in Good Soup. It's not exactly a Brussels sprouts. I think it's like on the edge of Good Soup and Brussels sprouts, I want to say, and that's because I prefer very compelling villains that will make me question my own sense of morality, and you know, that I will relate to a little bit, and that will make me uncomfortable. That's the kind of villains that I love the most. But you know, if it's just a big bad evil, I also don't necessarily mind if like the rest of the book is amazing. So yeah, that's why it goes in Good Soup. And then finally, the last trope that I want to rank is the redemption arc. And I have to say, that one is Chef's Kiss. I love a good redemption arc. Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender is such a great example of this because it just makes me so emotional whenever misunderstood characters start to like love themselves and then start to understand that what they did was wrong and they want to fix it. It just makes me so happy. So there we are. This is my final tier ranking of all of the bookish tropes that I could think of. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with those results. I think that they make a lot of sense, and they also make me realize that I really do have a type when it comes to books. I know that this video is probably going to be quite long, so if you've made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below which is your favorite book trope, because I would really love to know. Let me know also if you disagree with some of the opinions that I've expressed in this video quite aggressively. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.